Oh, too mean to be.
That guy is fast.
You need to cut this off.
Hey, how's it
Did I
going?
see you the other day?
You did?
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Mike,
Huh?
get
Yes.
in touch with Sean.
I didn't. I think it was. I'll be right back. But make sure my bill goes on.
Who would want that?
Oh, you.
This has got money in it, we got money in it?
Yep, lots of it.
That big fast
Old moly money.
I guarantee you, if it's Fisher's, it's moldy. It's right, Pete?
You better believe. It's aged well.
Yeah, another date on those bills. Yeah, they're probably worth a big bucks. In the 30s and 20s.
Red seals in there.
Silver certificates.
Not too late here, Mr. Mike.
What?
We go next week.
All right, council,
That's all right.
No, he was. Going to drive his time.
you want to pull applications?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else need one? Full application, please.
You don't want one?
You don't want one, that's fine. No, we already, got some, around the script,
Good power. You got 60-year-old brother. That's too much good power.
Yeah,
His neighbor.
I got.
He cleaned up first one. She went after the
This
day.
is.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, I said we were going to quit case moving down there back here, that camp down here. I said, I know you didn't go by that.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Well, I had a call, like, I was on last Friday. Actually, on the phone.
Really?
Oh. Yes, ma'am.
I did that.
There's a lot. No. There's this cat.
Any tractors? Then mark for 100 horsepower.
Yep, there it is.
We got a really, really nice job here.
You know, the model.
Oh, the model is just four-wheel drive, it's a really nice tractor. And the rod, you get a decent span on Man, live right there.
Is it a larger one or is it a larger?
Probably.
100 what I'm looking for.
Hello? Okay. Hello? Hello?
It helps with the live stream.
All right, 6:30, it's time to bring this planning commission workshop meeting to order. We have a quorum. Everyone is here tonight. Welcome back, Mr. Brigler. Before we go into the whole process, I would like to introduce our attorney that's taken Mr. Sean Gregg's place, Mr. Patrick Teves. You'll be with us for at least the next two meetings.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Going. So, tell me the last name.
It's easy Tom, Eddie, he's the, yes.
All right, the first thing we're going to do is review the minutes of the meeting. You got that? Okay. Any questions on the minutes of the September 16th, 2020 meeting? Comments? Good to go? Nan?
Yes. We voted, we actually just voted on the part about only the offer and the date we read into the minutes. At first, I thought there wasn't enough, written notice given, but it was, so we're fine. And that motion was made by Danny and seconded by Keith, and everybody voted aye. So I corrected that and will give it to you for the record.
Thank you, Nan. And a follow-up to that, I passed out the current voted on final workshop, the planning commission bylaws. The ones I forwarded out via email, it seemed like it became a little, some of the paragraphs were uneven, this type of stuff. So I just went ahead and printed out some copies on my machine, and they look a little bit better. So I have passed all those out tonight. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the September 16, 2020 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. The one and only case on the agenda tonight, first, we were going to preview the November 4, 2020 joint public hearing. Anybody have any comments on that meeting? That one was rather involved, so to speak. Any feedback? If none, moving on. First case on the agenda tonight, and only one, is case number SU 11-20, which is up on the board here, or up on the wall. Request by CWS X LLC for an indefinite special use permit to develop a wireless communication facility. The subject property is zoned A1 agriculture, and per Article 1 zoning ordinance section 1413-4, uses require a special use permit. The wireless communication facility exceeds 100 feet in height, which requires a special use permit according to the ordinance. The subject property is 376.2 acres, and the property owner intends to lease 10,000 square foot area to the applicant. The wireless communication facility would be confined to roughly a 50 by 100 fenced-in compound. The total site disturbance, including access road, fenced-in compound, is estimated to be approximately 1.18 acres. The monopole tower proposed height is 175 feet with the attached 4-foot lightning rod. The subject property is located on South Blue Ridge Turnpike, which is Route 231, and is owned by M&W Farms LLC. The subject parcel is identified on the Madison County tax map as tax map number 69-7, and the existing dwellings on the site has a postal address of 950 South Blue Ridge Turnpike, Somerset, Virginia. Mr. Webb, do you have anything to add?
Yes. The application is, as I probably said in the email, having done this for a while, I think that our ordinance related to wireless communication facilities, as you can see right there, there's a lot of work that goes into before we receive an application of this nature. I know since I've been here for almost a year and a half, this has been discussed as a forthcoming application But of course, there are a couple, big things that the applicant has to sort of clear before they can apply. And that's one is, in this case, I think it was obviously the Federal Aviation Administration and also the Department of Historic Resources, which their approvals and everything is in the packet. From a planning perspective, and Mr. Taves and I went down, looked at the site today. I knew where it was, but to really kind of pinpoint on the exact location of the tower. From a planning perspective, it's kind of interesting, very comprehensive application, a lot of moving parts. Again, planning wise, we're not talking about traffic. As you might remember, our proposal not far, not talking about traffic and some of the sort of typical things that we sort of review in this, in these meetings. From my perspective, obviously the one sort of detractor that is often sort of stated is that from a visual perspective, and as you can see in the application, they did the balloon test as required, and we have a very good, visualizations that show what the exact impact will be on the different view sheds. And then on the other hand, we know the importance of wireless communication or connectivity, and obviously this is an area I didn't have cell service in that area, and for a whole myriad of reasons. We know why cell service is important, especially with kids at home from school. All the above. Emergency communications. It is something that I do believe has obviously tangible benefits. So, other than that, I'll be happy to answer the questions you might have for me. I have not particularly. I did send the letters out. It was in the paper this week and next week. I did send adjacent letters out to. I think it's around 30 folks. So everybody got a letter, including the administrator of Orange and Greene counties. I've gotten a couple calls, just a few questions. So, I wouldn't say the phone's ringing off the hook, but there's been some, a few comments, a few questions. So,
Any questions from the planning commission, Mr. Webb, before we bring the applicant's representative?
yeah, it has been requested that we put signs on the property, just noting that there's a public hearing. Those signs have been ordered, should be here, or they're supposed to be delivered on Friday. So as soon as we get them, I'll go out Friday and put signs along the property. Just basically, it's like a larger political sign. It says public hearing in our office to call. So they'll be out there. And for now, we'll start putting those on properties. And Mr. Taves and I had a conversation about that. It's not required or not code, but I think it's a great idea.
Mr. Work?
Yeah, just out of curiosity, Megan, we had a fire project, I can't remember exactly where it was, but I think it was on your Graves Mountain.
That's right.
And I asked the proponent how they picked 199 feet. And they said, well, that's just under the FAA limitation. And so you always fit that. But it's interesting to see that this group has downsized it to 175. What's the rationale for that?
Well, I think my understanding talking to Ms. McCrory was it was I guess part of the negotiations with some of the adjacent property owners, at least is what I understood, that they were basically every foot to try to minimize the visual impact, and that was sort of the rationale, and they could still transmit out the signal that they need at 175. So that was sort of it's not a huge concession, but it was a concession. That's the way I understood it.
Mr. Chairman?
One other question. Is this tower intended only for cell service? Or is it also broadband, generally speaking?
I'm going to ask. I'm not really too. I think the cell service, the LTE or whatever it may be, sort of functions, and maybe Mr. Davis knows, sort of in the same capacity as broadband. I mean, it's obviously cellular signal. But I do believe that it would provide a signal if you were in range that could essentially be the same as a broadband.
Even, so it could be any kind of broadband.
Yep. I mean, what are the download speeds from this? If you're in your house, I don't particularly know, but I mean, it would be better than what there is out there right now.
Any other questions for the planning commission?
Mr. Chairman, can I add something?
Yes, please.
With respect to the issue about the reduction in height, I believe I recall something in the record relating to the State Historic Preservation Officer, and there was an arrangement. They reduced the height. They promised to paint it a light non-reflective gray, and have a monopole as opposed to a lattice tower. And the State Historic Preservation Office, because of those changes, recommended approval.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was not ready to read that, it's on page 1, the whole history of this thing's been beaten around a long time, but anyway, not, what the SHPO wanted to, what is written on page 1 of the 4th paragraph down.
Any other questions, Mr. Webb? Yep. Do we have the applicant's representative here tonight?
Mr. Chairman, I'll get rid of this mess so I can talk. I'm Butch Davies, and I'm here on behalf of Community Wireless Services. Let me share with you, I was actually brought into the development of a site for this region about 3 years ago. They have looked at, I'm guessing, a half a dozen sites seriously. The discussion with Mike Willis, who's actually the principal, occurred about a year ago. Mike said he needed to talk to some of the people who were in the area, who were clients of his, and he owns Mike Glass as well as some other businesses. He said he came back and he signed the lease. And let me tell you a little bit about what went into it. Hope McCrary does a very good job of reaching out and trying to talk to people. And she did that. One of the things that they encountered was there was some resistance at SHPO. And the state historical people said, you need to lower the tower. And so they discussed it, and they lowered it to 175 feet. It's still got a lightning rod on top, so it's 4 feet. But they spent some time looking at it. They also told them that they wanted them to paint it. So they discussed what to paint it, and the decision was made to do it as a light gray so that it would then blend into the heavens. What you would see would not be an unattractive pole sticking up and grabbing your attention. That is how SHPO came to approve their application, which was essential that they were going to submit it. They actually have, in looking at other sites, they wanted to find something that was fairly concealed. What they found in this particular site is that from the road, there are periodic points that you may be able to see. The problem is for people who live some distance away. The tower will not be lit. It's going to be painted. It ought to blend into the countryside. But it's still going to, you are, depending on where you are, you will be able to see it. I looked at a couple of poles that are around. A good example, quite frankly, is one that's on Route 15. And that's one that sticks. I mean, you see it when you're on 15 going down. That was painted and color coordinated. The bottom is green, the top is blue. What you find is you get adjusted to it. You don't see it when you're driving back. You actually have to look for it. And it's also not as unattractive as some of our telephone line provisions that are there, which are not particularly attractive, but granted, not as tall. One of the things, and I had tried to note in going through their application here with you, some of the key things, they were pretty much addressed in the opening remarks of the chair and have been addressed by your administrator, zoning administrator. But the real key for this site is the fact that it provides significant service to an area that really is not served. It's 231 and Route 20. Part of the beneficiaries of this tower live in Orange County, part of them in Madison. It is a connecting pole. The next closest pole is somewhere, I would say 3.5, 4 miles away. They actually have done a look, their notes said 3.5 to 5. But the real key to this is the fact that in this kind of environment, it does provide emergency services. That is a key factor. And it's one of the things that Community Wireless Services has been good in doing. The other poles they put up in Madison County, they've allowed access for emergency services. They want to make sure that that is available in this area because there isn't coverage now. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. I know that Hope is available by phone if we need her, but we wanted to be able to be here to answer any concerns that you may have.
Any questions from the planning commission for Mr. Davies? Pete?
Question making a statement. I think this is probably a no-brainer. We got the resort coming. We need somebody there, some way to be able to get a hold of some fire rescue squad or whatever's there. You got kids at home that can't learn if they don't have any kind of computer service. I mean, it's just so many things safety-wise that this can help. The only concern I got is, and the question I got is, if this application is approved, are they going to build and put something on it?
Absolutely. They actually have 2 people interested. One is Verizon, and one is a smaller firm. It's now actually part of the T-Mobile empire, but I'm finding that's harder to work with, quite frankly. But it's going to be, they've got 2 people who have indicated an interest, and I think you're going to see it will be occupied, and I think in a reasonable fashion.
Is there an optimal number of people to put their antennas on this pole?
There's no optimal number. What now, they want at least 1, but I expect they will have 2, but there's no optimal. If your question, you can get up usually to 4, but a tower that's 175 feet high, you actually can get probably 4 users on it. I don't expect to see that. I expect to see 2. And that's within the next
What do you
couple of
expect
years.
to see if you don't expect to see 4?
No, I expect to see 2
You
users
expect to see
on the
2?
tower.
But,
I don't know whether there'll be any others. I can't.
but isn't it everybody's benefit to have as many as possible?
Yeah, there is access there, but I'm not sure. We'd have to wait and see who's interested. But I know there'll be 2 users.
I got one other question. Will the county be able to put something on this?
Oh,
tower?
sure, yeah.
Yes.
Emergency service.
Yes.
Yeah, Absolutely, no question.
Was that your question, Danny? Okay.
Absolutely.
Anybody else on the
We've done that-
plan?
We've done that with every tower, and we continue.
Anybody else on the planning commission have any questions? Mr. Davies, to the audience? Anybody in the audience want to comment? Please approach them. Thank you, Mr. Davies. Appreciate it. Yes. And just one moment. Yes, ma'am. Could you stand up, identify yourself?
I live less than 7 minutes walking distance to this tower. I would say I'm right on 231. I have spoken with Hope McCreary. I have 100% cell service, 911 internet at my house through AT&T and Orange. This tower would be a detriment to my views. Literally, like I said, I can walk from here to my car and I can move to that tower.
And it's a detriment because of why?
It's a what?
Why is it a detriment?
The view.
The view.
I don't want the tower there.
Okay.
Property values, I don't know the health hazards of it. And those are my concerns.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate your comment. Anyone else in the audience? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm George R. Ham. I have a piece of property adjacent to Emmons, and I was there the day they did the balloon test, and I was kind of surprised at the height of the balloon and the obstruction of view that it would have of my property. My property is less than half a mile from the tower, and basically I have to look through the tower to see the only mountain view that I have of the southwest mountains. I spoke with the personnel that was there that day, and I asked them about why they would put it on top of a fall hill in the middle of a big field where you can see it from just about every direction. There are spots, as one of the gentlemen spoke earlier, that as you go down 231, you look to the right, there's hills that you can't see it. But anywhere off of 231, it is very visible. In fact, coming up 20 from Barbersville to Somerset, it's perfect view of it. I'm not too worried about a distant view of it. So when the personnel was there that day, I asked them about maybe an alternate site. I'm all for internet service. I think it's needed. And I took them up to my property, which was 3,300 feet away from that, next to a power line that they explicitly put through the woods so you could not see the power line. And it has woods around it, and it would take away this eyesore that is very obtrusive to a lot of people's views through the area. So I would like to know why we couldn't find an alternate site. I'm offering my property to be able to place it there. I don't want to take it from MW properties. I'm not looking for the quote of money to get it, but I'm just trying to get it to be moved so you don't see it everywhere. And I've got a perfect spot for it. And the gentleman came up and looked at it. He took a reading up there. And I'm also a surveyor, so I took some coordinate readings. And it was 3,300 feet further north than the proposed site. And I said, for 3,300 feet, that's less than a mile. That would be a good spot to put it, and you would not hardly see it at all. I don't think you'd see it from 231 unless you really changed looking for it, and it would be well hidden. So I'm offering the property as an alternate site for that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Davis, do you want to respond to that? Because I'm reading this, it looks like there was a lot of research done on this.
I can tell you, over the period of time, they've looked at a number of sites and considered it. And the problem is, you have to find a site that covers the area you need to service. Moving it any significant distance, 3,300 feet would be a significant distance, and entails significant expense. They have spent a lot of time and money finally selecting this site, I can tell you. And I don't think they can afford now to relocate it. I think they've moved far enough down the process, and they're trying to minimize the negative impact that was described.
Mr. Chairman? Okay.
Can I reply to that?
Yes, sir, you got 3 minutes, go for it.
Thank you. Well, when I spoke with the personnel that was there that day, they had made comment that they didn't want to go any further north. In fact, they'd rather go further south. They'd rather be in Orange County. But their comment was, Orange County is too difficult to work with. That's why we're in Madison.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman, can I add a few things?
Yes, sir.
First of all, with respect to the two citizens, could we get their parcel numbers so that we know what parcels they're talking about? And then with respect to the lady, you made a comment about health concerns. And one thing that I would tell this commission and the board also is that if there's anything clear in the area of telecommunications law, is that this body and the board cannot take into consideration health concerns. That's a federal issue, and the federal law is very clear on that.
Thank you. Did y'all submit a letter to the county planner?
I have.
Okay. Would you give us your parcel tax map number after the meeting is over, please?
I am literally adjacent. I think it's 69-7 is my parcel. I just got my taxes yesterday
But we all.
with this letter. It's way off. Say,
I said, no, I said we all got our tax bills yesterday. Yeah.
But literally,
Okay.
like I said.
69-7. Okay. All right. And you, sir, do you know?
I mean, I'm on the tax map.
Right. Did you have your number, sir?
Right here with me.
Thank you. Ms. Miller? Please do.
Barbara Miller. I'd like to ask Mr. Davies a couple of questions in the next statement.
Okay.
You mentioned that Verizon is interested. Would they have an agreement with AT&T, you know, to provide service if people are driving by the tower? Do you have any idea about that?
Now, whoever uses the tower will have the ability to connect with others.
Okay.
How it gets billed becomes the issue. So you would want to have at least 2 users on it. You wouldn't want to rely on this one.
And do you have any idea of Virginia Broadband, like leasing space on that tower for internet?
I'm not sure whether Virginia Broadband would go one or not right now. I don't know whether they're expanding. They recently were involved in a project up in Rappahannock County, and they said they wanted to go on the tower, but they've made no steps to do that.
Well, I just want to pledge my support for this project. I think it's important for the area, especially if you're driving on 20 by Montpelier. There's zero self-service there at all. If you're on the phone, your call drops. If there's an accident, there's no way to call for emergency help. In addition, I'd like to echo Mr. Elliott's words about in the age of COVID, people are very much relying on internet and communication from home. People that have to work from home, children that have to be educated from home. I think it's an emergency issue, and it's also, an issue based on COVID and just, almost everywhere you go, you're able to contact people. It's kind of ridiculous that in this area we have zero service. So, I mean, some people might, but I know that I don't when I'm driving on 20. And also on 231, there's no service. So being that it's a major road, I think it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the audience? Miss ma'am in the back. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm Thomas Weaver. I'm also an adjacent landowner. 5 years ago, I cussed this thing all the time. Now I can't live without it. Being a business owner in that part of the county, probably 90% of my business is transacted over this right here. Being an email or text or phone call. I don't know how many times I've gone, hello, 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 and nothing. You see the number, but nothing's happening. It gets very frustrating with people I'm trying to contract to sell product to, because they have time constraints too. I mean, a restaurant I go to, they need to order by a certain time today to have a product delivered tomorrow. If I don't get that text or email until I'm on a high spot of the farm, or go home and hit a hot spot, I don't get the sale, they don't get the product, neither one of us are happy. We desperately need better service in that Somerset. Well, actually, like I said, from Montpelier to almost Barbersville, there's no service. But the time you leave, Rochelle, almost to Gordonsville, there's no service. Flat tire, wreck, rescue squad, it's almost impossible. We had a tractor fire on the farm 3 years ago. I couldn't call the fire department. Or turned into a minor fire, turned into a total loss on the tractor. The worst thing was, it was my brother's tractor. That was a hard phone call to make. Actually, dispatching, let the sheriff know at that time, hey, your tractor's on fire. But we need cell service in that part of the county.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, ma'am, in the back, please stand up and give us your name, please. I'm sorry. Would you like to approach the microphone?
My name is Paula Bishop Liebler. I'm adjacent on, I think it's 94G. I just wanted to raise just two small questions about the lights. So I was pleased to see that there isn't a need for lights on the top. I just wanted to ask if in the future that changes, the regulations change or something happens and they need to have lights, would that need to come back to the special permit people to readdress that? Or would it just happen and we'd have to have lights? So that was one question.
Would you care to address that? Proceed.
If the commission and the board ended up approving the tower and requiring that it be unlit, then in order to light it, they would need local approval. Now, it may also be that, who knows, the federal law may change and the federal requirements may require lighting. And in that case, the county's not going to be able to do much about that. They'd have to follow whatever the federal law was.
So once it's up, then we just have to follow that and we'd have to have the lights if that was the case. Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
if those facts prevailed, yes.
And the other thing was just a small thing. I was talking to someone in Albemarle County yesterday, and they were mentioning about some other towers that have been put up in the Crozet area. And they noted that they were actually sort of looked more like trees, and that there were just some good things that could be done to make it aesthetically less bad. So those are the 2 points. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else from the audience? Yes, Mr. Yao.
Yes, Carter Yao, Atlanta, Virginia. I was down there. I went to the balloon test last year this time, but what I don't know was whether the balloon test was done at 175 feet or 199 feet.
Mr. Davies?
It was done at 199 feet.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Christopher Hawk with the Piedmont Environmental Council. We understand the importance of emergency services and the benefits that cellular connectivity can bring to the county. not only for tourists, but for residents, the farming community. Everyone knows that this is extremely important, but we also raise the importance of protecting view sheds in the county. People come to the county to, for tourism, to view the beautiful aesthetics of the county. There is a new resort that's located nearby. I'm sure the county would love to have tax revenue associated with that, and an unsightly cell tower may inhibit some of those view sheds. So we would ask the county to look into potential alternatives for the tower, potentially lowering the tower a few feet to further mitigation, as well as use a paint scheme for the tower instead of light gray. During the SHPO review, Chris Novelli with the department had asked the applicant to use a reflective film on the tower for mitigation purposes. Unfortunately, that film is no longer being manufactured. So he let that slide by more or less, but it would be nice if the county would look into potentially requesting a paint scheme to, serve in place for the lack of that reflective film. So that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hawk. Anyone else? Back to the planning commission, Mr. Work.
Yeah, I'd like to ask the gentleman a question. You said that federal law preempts state or local law with regard to health issues. I'm interested in knowing whether there are health issues. I haven't heard that there are. Your understanding that there are health issues that the federal government regulates?
I think the FCC would tell you that their studies show that there aren't any health issues. But in any event, I mean, you can do research over the internet, and you can find a lot of reports, from people having studies here and there, making these claims or those claims, whatever. My point is that's an issue that's very clearly not before this commission or the board of supervisors. We simply can't base a decision on that at all. That's for the federal authorities.
Thank you.
The other point that I'd make, Mr. Chairman, is that I have spoken to the family that owns the property that's depicted in number 4, the picture number 4, over the Village Road facing north. They're very interested in view sheds and the environmental aspect of them. But their view is the tower is needed for this location. And to respond like that.
Thank you. Colette, you had one more comment you wanted to make.
I just wanted to reiterate that I found a 5-year-old Android phone. I've got AT&T service. I commute to Charlottesville 5 days a week. I have never lost cell service at my home, to Charlottesville, through Barbersville, Stony Point, anywhere. I called 911 a couple of times for emergency. Never had problems getting through there. I have internet service, and I don't know what this tower is going to provide. That's just my take. And it is going to be in my backyard.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any, Mr. Kregler?
Why was the balloon test done at 199 feet and we knew it was going to be at 170?
We didn't know then.
Sorry.
Why was the test done at 199 feet?
Because that was the optimum height.
So they.
And it was the good, when they went to SHPO, they lowered it to meet their concerns.
All right, I got a comment to make too on the property. I've been on that piece of property, I've hunted on it for years. That Barbara is now, good ball farm. And the only place I know you even think about getting cell service on that place is what we used to call a lookout mountain. then you're damn lucky if you get it there. And you would probably lose it if you stay more than a minute or two on the call. So I think it's a tire that's well needed and it needs to go in.
Thank you, Mr. Regler. Anyone, sir? One more time.
I want to extend an invitation to anyone, that would like to come out and look at the site, another viable site that I have. It's easy access, no strings attached, straight off of 231, and easy access. I'm just, don't go there, emphasize that.
Thank you for the invitation. Ms. Miller, one more time.
Just in response to, the woman that made her last comment. I have a new iPhone 11 Pro with AT&T service, and I don't have anything. No service over there at all. So I think she's extremely fortunate with her Android. Maybe I should think about getting an Android. But right now I can tell you that, I've got a top-of-the-line phone, just got it. With good service in other places with AT&T, there's nothing there. Thank you.
Okay, there in 2 weeks, at the joint meeting of the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors, this will be on the agenda. Everyone will have an opportunity to speak again if you so desire. So you will have another opportunity. Anybody else on the Planning Commission?
I'll go along with what she has said. I have Nextel, and I can talk all over this county with Nextel, but I cannot talk in that area.
Okay,
I do have something to say.
Mr. Fisher?
Randy, I talked to this lady, Hope and Prayer, several times, very interested in this. Wanted to move it further north, up next to because I got both AT&T and Verizon, and I pay a fortune, I have to walk outside and almost get on my garden fence to talk sometimes. So I don't know what kind of phone she got, I have no idea, but I've talked to her, I even mentioned your property. The problem is, Orange kicked us out. I mean, you read this thing, they tried Orange County 3-4 times. Orange County is not interested. So they come across. They didn't want to come across. They came across and they're sitting right as close as they can to the Rapidan River without being flooded. They even talked to the people that own the sandbar down there. Climate. Not enough height.
Right.
So, what the problem is, the clicks or the hits or whatever you want to call it, more technical than I am, most of them occur around that little circle they put in. That's where she wants. 20's got more hits than 231. And that's the money. And that's where the money is, that's what she's got to have to justify the money that it takes to put that tower in. So,
Well, let me ask you a question. If you raise the tower back up to 199 feet, and the elevation is actually higher on the knoll where it's on a knoll, but it's wooded and it's next to the power line, I dare say the line of sight would be just as good or better than the proposed site.
and I would answer that, but you have to go back to the SHPO and go through another year and a half. We need this tower now.
I approached them a year ago with this. And they didn't.
All right. Mr. Fisher.
I don't want to argue with you.
Mike.
We need this thing now.
I agree, we need it. I'm not disagreeing.
We could sit here and debate on this all night long. I don't think we're going to get anywhere. You have another opportunity at the joint hearing. Mr. Carpenter, do you have something you want to say?
One quick observation. About maybe a year and a half ago, I had the necessity of finding out whether I could consult on service providers. AT&T actually has maps. They can show you where they service. Not in my house. 1,000 feet away, it's another 500 feet no. If you rain here, Germans put on service. And that's why they do these towers within like 3 to 5 miles. There's another tower on here. And to get the service in the Reno area, and Somerset area, because of the rain, they need coverage there.
work that corridor. Very spotty, unless you can get.
All right, thank you very much. Any other comments on this issue? Like I say, you'll have another opportunity at the joint hearing. If not, we're going to move on. Couple of things here tonight. Yes, Faye, if you would, I would like for you to write up a proposal for a fee for these the solar issue. We have something for the fees to recommend for the county board of supervisors for the fee. We made that recommendation once upon a time that was not followed through on, if you would. Okay. Mr. Webb, I noticed on the event venue, when it was changed from a rural resort to event venue, there was a lot of things left in there that were not changed, like it still refers to a what do we call that?
Rural resort.
Rural resort. Still numerous places in there refers to rural resort. Okay. Do we need to officially change that through a meeting and an amendment to the ordinance, or can that be changed administratively?
Well, I think when we adopted the change back from rural resort to event venue last summer or last winter, we made the statement that it would, everywhere in the code, that would now be the place. The difference in rural resort and event venue, they've always been kind of interchangeable words. But if there were some places that I did not, I put the ordinance on the website, the updated one, the other day. And I need to get copies to everyone. I didn't have time to print today, but I'll go through the code one more time, zoning ordinance, and just make sure the event venue, rural resort isn't changed for event venue. But yeah, when we adopted that ordinance, we sort of made that general statement that it would now be referred to event venue. And if there is, what I put online, if there are already references to rural resort, it's a mistake that I didn't catch it, but I'll go through the struggle again.
It's still there.
Okay.
Okay. So that can be done administratively?
Yes.
Okay.
We approved the change that we were going to make all references to it in the code. Again, we always got to use it interchangeably, but yeah, I'll go through it and make sure it's.
Okay. Anybody else on the planning commission have anything else to say? Any other issues? That's everything on the agenda for tonight. If no one else has any comments, can I get a motion
So move.
to terminate this meeting? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? See y'all in 2 weeks.
Go back.
Chris, are you?
I'm looking forward to